Hi, my name's Carolyn Ossorio, and I'm the host of the new true crime podcast, Stolen Voices of Dole Valley. Now, we just dropped episode 8, and usually what we do is we also share a video, one of the interviews we might have taken with some of the people involved in the show, or discussions that I might have with our producer. But this week, we're going off script. I just found out that retired detective John Dush passed away. And I have to tell you that he was an incredibly dedicated investigator. He literally took a copy of Gloria Nadine Knutson's file home with him when he retired. And he was the first investigator, the lead investigator on that case in 1978 when he was called out to the Lacamas Lake area to investigate her murder, and which is still unsolved and is linked to Warren Forrest. So I wanted to share this interview with John, and he was such a huge help. He'd, whenever I reached out to him, either through email or over the phone or a sit down interview, he always took the time to share information with me and including Gloria's case file, which he let me borrow, which is a huge, huge thing. So, in honor of John and all of his contributions, I wanted to share with you this interview with him. Thanks for watching.
Actually, I think the entire idea is to work on solving the case or trying to solve the case and give some closure to their relatives that still might be alive. I mean, otherwise, well, of course, then it may be considered just a little bit obsessive compulsive, but I think that's the major reason that we work the cold cases.
Hmm. Why did they stay with you like this?
Uh,
Out of all the cases, I mean,
I,
you've worked hundreds of cases over
it's
your
always
career.
it's always the unknowns that stick with you. You know, if a case is solved, then yeah, you still have the records of it, but it doesn't bother you anymore, or doesn't come into your mind because it's been solved, and these are unsolved.
Hmm. What do you think about Warren Forrest crimes and all of these unsolved cases that have not been adjudicated to people who say, hey, we need to move on. There's other new cases that should take priority. What do you think about that?
Well, you've read my file on my investigation on Gloria Nadine Knudson, and there's no period at the end.
Mm-hmm.
There's no period at the end, and like I said, uh, that's when I worked it. It's been 46 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and my former homicide partner, Doug Maz, has been twisting my arm for 46 years saying it was Warren Forrest. And I finally come around to where I'm pretty certain that it was.
So when you worked the case, Warren Forrest was already
He was arrested in '74.
okay. So where was he when
He
she
was
was found in 1978?
78, I think. Yeah,
Yeah,
in May of
1978.
'78, yes.
So she was not on their radar per se necessarily. They started kind of stringing it together in 1978 when he was about ready to get released from Western. And they were
Right.
like, wow, we have all of these missing young girls, and we have a guy who looks like he'd be good for them.
I think the thing is that what really brought the attention to Warren on the rest of the cases was Maz put together like a timeline, like a link chart, if you will. And it's okay, this lady went missing, say for example, Diane Gilchrist. She went missing on the 29th day of July 1974. 2 days later, Gloria Knudson went missing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was some, in Doug's investigation, there were times when someone would go missing and Warren would take the rest of the day off, or take
Like a half day.
a half day or a sick day or the next day off. And so all these things kind of started to gel.
Mm-hmm.
So does that answer the question?
Yeah, no, it does. Let's talk about, because we were going to go over to where we were going to meet to go to Lacamas Lake where Gloria was found, and you were
Yes.
going to show us. But unfortunately, it's all
Pardon me.
it's all built up now.
It's all growing up, yeah. When we We had to actually clear some lower or low-growing brush to get down to where her remains were. Interestingly enough, and I think you probably read it, maybe not read it in my case file, is that one of the gentlemen who found her skull, which was separated from the rest of her remains, he originally committed a homicide in a Burgerville up on Mill Plain.
I remember you telling me that.
And
yeah.
I just thought it was coincidental. Here's this guy, finds the remains of a homicide victim, and then he does a homicide later on in life with, I think, a couple other folks. Anyway.
I mean, it's just another twist in this case that
something,
already has so
something
many
that you
other
remember.
Twists, yeah.
Right.
Let's talk about those tape, the tape, the adhesive tape that you believe might have been found or was found near Gloria's remains.
And I'm not sure whether it was masking tape or some other kind of tape, but in reviewing my notes, I came upon the fact that in evidence there is apparently some tape. I haven't seen the evidence, but it would be interesting to see if the possibility exists today of getting some DNA evidence off of the tape. And who knows?
Well, I don't know if you know this, but when Warren Forrest kidnapped the Lacamas Lake victim, he stopped off at the store and bought some beer and a couple of other items, which included some adhesive tape.
Aha. This was the one that was found in the park.
Yeah, Lacamas Lake victim.
Right.
Yes. So I find that very interesting when I read that.
Uh-huh.
You know, and that's the thing about this case. It's like until you know all the different things about it, it's hard to connect. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like sometimes, okay, there's a piece over here and a piece here and a piece here, and then you go, wait a minute, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. Maybe these three pieces go together. And that's exactly what you're saying.
Your email was like the cipher, because when I read your email and then I remembered the adhesive tape, because at the time when he picked up the adhesive tape, I thought it was kind of weird that was listed, because we know he uses natural rope to bind his victims. So to me, the adhesive tape was like, and I think that day I know that day he'd gone into the doctors in Portland to have him look at, I guess he hurt his ankle or something. So I thought, he's getting the tape for his ankle. But he could have just been lying. And somehow that adhesive tape was a part of his kill kit. You know, I don't know. I mean, I'm totally speculating here.
Don't know.
Your note led me on that trail, so I'm hoping that they will. And I just talked to Sergeant Neiman, and he said that they would, if there is that tape, and they'll look into it to see if it could get tested, because that would be another physical piece tying Gloria to Warren Forrest if his DNA is on it.
Right. And it's interesting, you were talking about the one lady who was survived that was in the park, which, say, to orient, the park is over here, okay, and then you have State Route 500, then you have Southeast Lake Road, and so if you look at the proximity, it's kind of like, okay. And interestingly enough, say at the...
Well, what do you mean, okay, what do you...
Well, I mean, just the proximity of the two crimes.
Of how close?
How close.
Yes.
Yes.
And knowing that Krista Blake and Norma, and then the two at, Carol Valenzuela and Martha Morrison, 2, 2, 2.
Right.
Right?
Now, the other thing is that, I don't know whether it's listed in the report, but found out later, was Mike Slider, who was the chief of police, eventually was the chief of police of Camas.
Yeah, I interviewed him. Yes.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
And he told you about when he showed up, he noted there was a canister in which the lock was up inside the canister and it was unlocked. Yeah.
That was great, because what happened
somebody
there,
had to have a key.
Yes, and it's unfortunate that he figured that out within 5 minutes, but then Deputy Pillsbury with Norma Jean, similar circumstances, locked gate, or unlocked gate as it were, and you would need a key to have access to that, but that question was not asked, which is unfortunate for so many, because had they asked that question and then, hey, do you have an employee that drives a van? Do you have an
A blue
employee that
van.
matches this description? And some of the employees were like, hey, that sounds like Forrest.
It sounds like, yeah.
And they didn't think to tell the deputy, and the deputy didn't think to ask the employees. So it's just a real another situation in this case where it's just a missed opportunity that's really tragic.
But
You know?
that can happen. It just can happen. It's just,
Well, we
it's
talked in the past.
being a detective is not a precise science.
Yeah.
In fact, even being a doctor is not a precise science. They're only practicing. And I think the same thing is if you're a homicide detective, you're practicing.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we've talked before about when I've tried to get the records from Diane Gilchrist and Gloria, because I believe Lacamas Lake is Vancouver police, or no, Lacamas Lake is the territory of the Clark County Sheriff's Office.
Yeah.
But she lived in Vancouver.
Yes, in fact, interestingly enough, when I was doing some research and I was looking at missing or cold cases, and when I checked on the city of Vancouver, they had listed as Gloria Knudson as one of their cases, and I'm going, wait a minute, I know better than that, but I believe that, who was it that reported her missing? Was it her father, Bert Knudson?
I think so, yeah.
Anyways, and they lived in Vancouver, so they would have taken the initial report as a missing. But yeah, for them to claim it's one of their cases overall, no, it's not. It's one of ours.
Well, and it's strange because we talked about this where I said why, because I tried to get the records from them, like maybe they had something that you all don't have, and I could connect, see what they have, and they wouldn't give the records because they said it's an active investigation.
I'll bet the reason that they didn't want to give the records is because they have been tossed. That was just a wild guess, but I mean, the only thing that they would have, essentially, if they looked in their files, would be a missing report, which would probably be about a one-pager.
And why would they not want to give that? That's not a murder investigation. That's a missing person.
That's right. But then it doesn't. In fact, is there a copy of their missing report in my file?
I don't believe so. I'll look. But that's a good question. I just thought that we had talked about it before about how why wouldn't you want to give up the records on Diane Gilchrist and Gloria Knudson when it's been so long? They're not even in charge of the investigation, and yet they're saying they can't because it's an active investigation.
I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of things in this life that I don't understand these days.
Yeah.
And you may be in the same boat.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. Okay, well then the last thing I want to ask you about is what it's been like being asked to come back and help with that other cold case. I mean, that's going to be pretty exciting.
Like I said, I had a copy of that major case file, number, what was it, 169, of the double homicide that occurred in 1962 of two elderly gentlemen out on 199th Street. And it was always in the back of my mind, and probably the reason that I made a copy of it is, wait a minute, maybe this one is solvable. And so when they started talking about that, it was kind of like, yeah, I'll come back and give you a hand on that one. I don't know whether it depends. We'll see what happens. Wintertime's coming, and I don't have a lot of projects in my shop. So if they need some help on some other ones, maybe I'll give them a hand on that too. I mean, what else have I got to do?
I often talk about how this case will make you mad, it will make you sad, it'll just make you want to pull out your hair. But then there are people like John and so many others who really never let this case go and have been silently working without the fanfare, without anybody really knowing, just to bring some resolution for the victims and their families, possibly some justice. So thank you, John, for all of your contributions. And if you haven't already, please go to Stolen Voices of Dole Valley. Look that up. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe to the show, and please rate and review. That really helps. And thank you so much for listening.